Dr. Liana Fix is a fellow for Europe at the Council on Foreign Relations. She is a historian and political scientist, and she joins me now to talk about all of this. So in general terms, briefly, what would a successful outcome from this summit look like?
So a successful outcome of the summit would not be a negotiated solution between Russia and Ukraine, because obviously Russia is not attending the summit, but a successful outcome would be a declaration supported by the states that are participating that confirms Ukraine's territorial integrity and sovereignty as a precondition. And that is the main aim, because alternative peace proposals to Ukraine's, China's peace proposals or Vladimir Putin's recent peace proposal, they all don't refer back to Ukraine's territorial integrity and sovereignty, and they also don't demand a withdrawal of Russian troops. So bringing all the countries on the same page would be the aim.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, the basis for the discussions is the 10-point peace plan put forward by Zelensky. That was back at the end of 2022. A lot has changed since then. And Vladimir Putin laid out his own maximalist vision, which involves basically Ukraine capitulating, surrendering. So where does that leave the competing sides?
Yeah, they're entirely at different sort of ends of the equation. And that's why the summit is really will probably not bring Ukraine and Russia along any closer to a real negotiation or solution. But for Ukraine, the most important part of that is really to make sure that the countries, especially of the global south that are participating, have a stake in a process that supports its integrity and sovereignty. But anyone who is hoping to have from this summit, sort of a close or a fast road, a fast path to a negotiated outcome and an end of the war will be disappointed.
Yeah. How much then of this gathering, and it's a big gathering, 90 countries representative, so how much about this gathering is sending a message to Russia, the optics of all of those representations, countries and organisations attending? If nothing else, the summit is an opportunity to showcase support, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it is part of a sequence of events, the Normandy meeting of Western allies, then we have the NATO summit upcoming, a sequence of events that is meant to send a signal of strength to Russia, and in particular to send a message that Ukraine's supporters are there to stay, that Russia cannot hope to outlast their support. The disappointing aspect, however, from the peace summit in Switzerland is that China has not participated, although it has participated in a meeting in the past, and it has actively discouraged other countries to participate. And that shows, together with China's escalating support for Russia, that China moves more and more to Russia's side and less to a neutral position as it had at the beginning of the war.
Yeah, Zelensky trod carefully with China initially. Now he's calling them out quite openly. I wonder if some sort of compromise that allows Russia to continue occupying Ukrainian territory, if that's a non-starter for Kyiv, which is not surprising, what might be acceptable? Most wars end with some measure of compromise. Do you get the sense that Zelensky, he's not going to budge?
Yeah, I mean, territorial integrity is obviously important, but I do think in the end it will be not the most important part for Ukraine. If they can back all parts of eastern Ukraine, that would be great. But for Ukraine, at some point, the most important aspect will be security guarantees from the West that end the war on terms that will not allow Russia to start a war again. So if in that scenario they have to give up some territory, at least sort of preliminary give those up, but they get in return security guarantees that make sure that Russia will not be able to attack again, that might be a trade-off they might be willing to go, but those security guarantees will have to come from Western countries, including the United States, and they're not willing to give those at the moment.
Yeah, and the NATO meeting with NATO members is in a couple of weeks as well, a few weeks' time, where you are in DC, so that'll be an important meeting too. Right out of time, Dr. Liana Fix, as always, thanks so much.
Thank you.